is the Jesse Kelly Show, final hour of the Jesse Kelly Show on a fantastic Monday. And yes, we're going to talk about this CBS News CEO stepping down. I'll get to the big, ugly budget. I'll offend everyone when we talk about cruise ships and the rise in crime. We'll do emails. We'll make fun of Chuck Schumer and Hillary Clinton. All that and so much more coming up in the final hour of the Jesse Kelly Show. Now, this story just makes me laugh. And I realize on a larger level it's not funny, but you'll see why I find it funny in just a moment. It's a big story in the media world today that a Wendy McMahon is stepping down. Now, she's CBS's news boss. She's the boss at CBS News. She's resigning. She's stepping down. She's being forced out. It all depends on who you're looking to. But you know what all this is coming from, right? She even said this. She said, it's become clear that the company and I do not agree on the path forward. And I find this to be unbelievably hilarious and revealing, really, of how these people see themselves. So let's recap, shall we? Dome, Kamala Harris is running for president. Polls aren't looking good. Nobody likes her. No one's ever liked her, and no one didn't like her when they handed her the nomination and $1.5 billion. That and Democrats were facing serious headwinds because they're soulless demons who opened up the border. So she already had an uphill battle. So CBS, this in and of itself is amazing. They took their flagship news program, 60 Minutes, and they decided they were going to do a long interview that would really help Dome endear herself to the public. We all know that was the point of the interview. But the problem is, and we talked about this during the election, it doesn't matter how many staffers and people, consultants and all these people you have around you. At some point in time, the candidate must perform. It doesn't matter how much money you have or how smart your campaign manager is. Or at some point in time, you have to be able to get up there and just do it. You have to be able to speak. You have to be able to make people like you. You do. So 60 Minutes knew this. CBS knew this. They asked her a question about Israel. I'm going to play you first her actual response. This is what she actually said.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
Well, Bill, the work that we have done has resulted in a number of movements in that region by Israel that were very much prompted by or a result of many things, including our advocacy for what needs to happen in the region.
What's that mean? It means nothing. And even the communists at CBS, they sat down after the interview was over and they looked at it and she didn't say anything. This is a terrible answer. So what did they do? Well, what have we talked about, you and me? No matter how important the job, no matter the pay, no matter the uniform, no matter how important the role is, from school teacher to general to media executive, it doesn't matter. A communist is always a communist first, and everything else is outside of that. Everything else is secondary. A communist is a communist first. You're at CBS. You listen to Dome giving a terrible answer on Israel. You're a communist first. You're not honest first. You're not a journalist first. You're not at CBS first. You decide you're going to do something about that because the revolution is what matters. We have to stop Trump. Ah! So I just played her actual response. But if you tuned in to CBS and watched 60 Minutes, this is the response you would have heard.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
We're not going to stop pursuing what is necessary for the United States to be clear about where we stand on the need for this war to end.
They just grabbed a completely different soundbite from a completely different answer, and they cut it and they pasted it in the interview. And, well, they lied. They lied. Now, you know all that. That was the background. Trump, to his credit, I've said repeatedly that the GOP, the right, maybe even you, have to start getting more litigious. These people are all lawbreakers. You can't have a revolution without breaking the law. Communists break the law all the time, all the time. You should punish them when they do bad things. Maybe you sue them. Maybe you press charges. Maybe something. But when communists break the law, you should hurt them for it. Legally. You always stay legal. So Trump sued him for a large quantity of money. $20 billion lawsuit. Now, after a lawsuit like this, here's how it works. I've actually been involved in this before. Not me personally. I've never been sued or anything like that. But a company I used to work for, I was involved in something like this. So let me explain how this works. Let's say your company got sued for insulting the color green. I know that's really stupid. Just stay with me. It makes it easier to understand. Your company got sued for $20 billion because the CEO said something against the color green. Well, eventually you're going to settle that lawsuit. But as is laid out in that lawsuit, your company, either it's going to be laid out in the lawsuit or your company will do it anyway. You are going to start putting rules into place. And what are those rules going to be? Well, once you get dragged through the courts and have to pay a settlement and have to pay lawyers, you're looking at the bottom line and you're looking at the money you just shelled out. You don't ever want to have to deal with something like that ever again. And so what you do is you send out an emphatic memo to the entire company. In fact, you probably have in-person meetings with the whole company, and you tell every single one of them in no uncertain terms, listen up, you freaking morons. If one person utters the slightest negative word against the color green, you're all fired immediately, and I'll make sure you never work in this town again. That's how it works when big companies get sued and they get cost a fortune for something. So for CBS, it wasn't that they insulted the color green. It was that they completely lied and edited an interview so a Democrat could win an election. That's why they did it. Trump sued them. Now CBS... Now they're having to hand out rules to all their programs, including 60 Minutes. And what would those rules be? Hey, please don't cut and paste a completely different answer on to a different question to make it look like somebody said something they didn't, because we're going to get sued. So basically, guys, don't tell any more outright lies so a Democrat can win. If you do that, it's going to cost us money. And if you do that, you're going to be fired. All that. And the response from the CEO was, it's become clear the company and I do not agree on a path forward. Let me tell you why I find that completely hilarious. Even powerful people in America's media, CEO of CBS News, they can't function without lying. Isn't that such an easy directive to follow? Hey, don't lie. Don't edit this and make it look like someone said that. Our only rule is, please don't lie. That was the rule she was given, and she throws her hands up. Well, I don't know how I'm supposed to work under these conditions. How am I supposed to do journalism if I'm not allowed to tell outright lies? That's what journalism is. This is ridiculous. But again, back to how they think.
I think our reverence for the truth might have become a bit of a distraction that is preventing us from finding consensus and getting important things done.
The truth is completely unimportant. What matters is the revolution. And if your candidate who's going to push your revolution forward answers a question like this.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
Well, Bill, the work that we have done has resulted in a number of movements in that region by Israel that were very much prompted by or a result of many things, including our advocacy for what needs to happen in the region. You
can't let that stand. It may be true, but it's bad for the revolution. So you cut and you paste and you show the public this.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
We're not going to stop pursuing what is necessary for the United States to be clear about where we stand on the need for this war to end.
All they do is lie about everything. Everything. All right. I'm going to offend some people when I talk about cruise ships next, and then we'll do some emails. It is the Jesse Kelly Show on a wonderful, wonderful Monday. Remember, you can email us love, hate, death threats, whatever you'd like, jesse@jessekellyshow.com. So the headline, it doesn't matter. We're going to move on, do some emails after this. But just really quickly, the headline is that cruise ship crime rates have risen to a 2-year high. So we're going to have a talk really quickly about cruises and about life. Okay. First, I'm certainly not a cruise ship expert, but I've been on 2. Both times I was on a cruise. Well, the first time I was on a cruise, I was dead broke. The second time, I was poor. I wouldn't say dead broke, but poor. Probably not even flirting with middle class. So I know not only cruises, I can only testify to low-end cruises. I'm told there are really nice ones out there. I've never been on one before. 2 low-end cruises. Let me explain something. There are things you're getting with a cruise, and there are things you're not getting with a cruise. The cruise benefits are, well, you only have to unpack once. You get to see a bunch of different places, but you have one room for whatever, 4 or 5 days, however long you're on the cruise. It's nice. Hey, unpack once. Good deal. But there aren't that many benefits on the ones I've been on because they're cheap. Listen, we don't like talking about this because money makes everybody uncomfortable. If you have it, you should never brag about it. If you're poor, you shouldn't feel bad about it. Money comes and money goes. We've all been there, ups and downs. But whatever amount of money you have, you should never go on a cruise unless you can afford a nice cruise and a nice room. People blow their money on things to get in to places they don't want to be. And you do it because it sounds nice. You know why crime rates have risen on cruises? Because the dollars it costs to go on a cruise have gone down, not up. If you go down to Miami, for instance, you can see cruise ship after cruise ship. They're stacked up like sardines there. And they're not all going off to some fancy, Caribbean island or something like that. Some of them are popping in 1 or 2 quick places. It's a 2 or 3 day cruise for $99 a night. If you are on a cruise ship and it costs Best Western prices to get on the cruise ship, you were on that cruise ship not with lovely people who share your values vacationing. You're on that cruise ship with criminals or criminal adjacent people, and it's going to be a gross, vulgar, horrible experience, and you should have instead threw the family in the car and drove down to the beach for a nice long weekend of peace and quiet. You went on the cruise, but you went with the half-price crowd, and the half-price crowd is going to get you a half-priced experience every single time. The second time I went on a cruise, you couldn't even get into the pool because of the film of oil over the top. It looked like the Exxon Valdez crashed into the pool in the cruise ship. That's how vile the entire thing was. One dude, there was a brawl. We went one night to the dance. They had a club in there, and it was Ob and I, and we went down there and we thought, hey, let's go get a cocktail. Maybe I'll sweep her off her feet, even though Ob says I'm like dancing with the grizzly bear. We were there for 2 minutes, and this ghettoed out fest had a brawl because some dude reached his hand back and hit his woman on the dance floor. It was a disaster in every way. Unless you have the money to spend a lot of it, do not go on a cruise because you are trapped there with the dregs of society. And you must, in life, price out the riffraff. You want a good example of this? I'll give you one more example of this. You want to make flying more bearable? Go become a member of something to get into the airport lounges. Did you know you can do this for like zero cost? Let's say, I'm just going to use Delta as an example. You know that Delta, I'm sure they have a Visa or a MasterCard. I'm not looking this up, but they have a major credit card. And if you have a credit card, you can just get a Delta credit card. I know because my buddy has one. Actually, I think his is United. He didn't do anything special. He's not filthy rich. But when he goes to the airport, he gets to go into the United Lounge. His bathrooms are clean. The food is free. If he wants a cocktail or two, he can sip on that. While you and I are out in the main airport dodging people's pee in the toilet, paying $25 for a glass of orange juice. Do you know why the lounge is a little better? It didn't even really cost money, but you elevated your circumstances above those around you, and what you did was you took the bottom 5-10% of society and you left them out at Cinnabon with the rest of us while you are enjoying clean bathrooms and phone chargers and everything else. Price out the riffraff in whatever way you can in your life. Trust me, it makes it better. Chris, telling you, airport lounge, my friend. Airport lounge. Even Chris said, I swear on my life, verbatim, this is Jewish producer Chris. And he said, worth the money. It's worth the freaking money. Believe me, worth the money. Price out the riffraff. It is the Jesse Kelly Show on a wonderful Monday. Remember, if you miss any part of the show, you can download the whole thing, iHeart, Spotify, iTunes. And yes, Chris, if you want to watch me do the show, you can watch me do the radio show at jessekellyshow.com, right, Chris? And you click on the video link. Chris tells me it's easy, that anybody can do it. jessekellyshow.com. And what, Chris? What? You just said it was almost anybody, but maybe not me. You know, that's rude, Chris. That's rude. I bet you I could do it. I bet you I could do it easily. Maybe not easily, but yes, I did hear the story and I did see the video. You can stop emailing me about it, about that big sailing ship, the big Mexican Navy ship that crashed into the Brooklyn Bridge. It was the Brooklyn Bridge, so it's New York City. So everybody's got a camera. I bet you I watched the video from 1,000 different angles. Chuck Schumer said this about it.
We know that the Trump administration has been meddling in U.S. Coast Guard operations, from staffing to command and comms. And I have the general sense of a Doge dysfunction in parts of the Coast Guard. We know that there has been meddling by the Trump administration in...
Obviously, he's just lying about it and doing what they always do, trying to find a way to blame Trump. But I will say, Mexican Navy ship, maybe you thought we didn't have any sources. We actually do have a little bit of audio from that day.
Ay, 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 ay. I am the frito bandido. I like fritos corn chips. I love them, I do. I want fritos corn chips. I'll get them from you. Ay, 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 ay. Oh, I am the frito bandito. Give me fritos corn chips and I'll be your friend. The frito bandido, you must not offend. Munch, munch, munch a bunch of fritos.
So do with that what you will. Now, I have something kind of crappy to talk about, so I'm not going to spend very long on it. The bill. Yep. You've heard me already rant and rave about, you can call it a big, beautiful bill all you want, but there's no such thing as a beautiful bill that is big. Not from a corrupt institution like this Congress. It's not humanly possible. They will do what corrupt, evil people always do. They'll take a few things they know you want and I want, and they'll throw them in the bill, and then they'll fill up the bill with corruption that allows them to buy votes. That's what all this is. I have bad news and I have worse news. The bad news is the fiscal hawks in the House and the Senate have gone from fairly quietly complaining about this to loudly screaming about the entire thing. I actually had a chance to talk to Senator Ron Johnson earlier today, and that was probably as angry as I think I've ever seen Senator Ron Johnson, if I'm being honest. Ron Johnson put up some long video online showing, well, this is what he put up online.
I want to do what has not been done in 24 years, balance the federal budget. We're going to balance it.
We have to cut spending.
We don't have a revenue problem in this country. Revenues are up. In fact, they're up at historic levels. What we have is a spending problem.
Reduce the size and scope of government, make it work more efficiently and effectively for the American people.
He wants to balance the budget. I know I do too.
We do not have a revenue problem in the United States of America. We have a spending problem.
But Ron Johnson wasn't putting that up as a compliment. He was putting that up to say, what happened to all this kind of rhetoric? As we get closer and closer and closer to the passage of something is happening that is as predictable as the rising and setting of the sun. The bill is getting worse and worse and worse as the deadline looms. And you know why this is. I don't have to insult your intelligence, but just in case you're a little confused, why would the bill get worse? Well, remember, there are a bunch of soulless evil demons who work in the House and the Senate, and their staffers too. Lobbyists, all that, the worst. When they sense your desperation, when they start hearing things like, we have to pass something, let's just get it done. Let's get it done by Tuesday. Hey, let's get this passed by Wednesday. No later than Friday. We have to get it done. We're down to 24 hours. You know what they hear? Opportunity is what they hear. The second politicians start talking about how desperate they are to get something done, just pass something through, then all the corrupt demons in Washington, D.C. descend like the locusts they are, and they start packing as much evil filth into that bill as they possibly can because they believe you are desperate now and will have to vote on it anyway. And so as the deadlines get closer, the bills get worse. That's what you need to remember and take away from this. As deadlines get closer, the bills get worse. It's happened every single time I've ever watched this stuff. The bill never gets better. It never gets trimmed down. It gets worse and worse and worse and worse and worse as more corruption gets thrown in, and more corruption gets thrown in, and more corruption gets thrown in. And I want you to remember that. I want you to remember that the next time a politician, any politician, gets up and starts bragging about Doge. I don't care who they are. If they wear a Republican tag and they get up and they're bragging about Doge found this and Doge stopped this and Doge stopped that, if that's a Republican who votes for this crap, that Republican is full of crap. Because what this does, this big, beautiful bill, is it funds every single penny of that corruption. The ugly truth about Doge is nobody snapped their fingers and decided to start sending millions of dollars to Guatemala for tranny surgeries. Congress authorized that money in bills just like this one. That money is actually legal. Did you know that? Most of it legal and authorized. And that process happens during what we're going through right now. And do keep that in mind if you're one of these people who keeps emailing me saying, just get it passed. That's how we get corruption. That kind of talk and that kind of thinking is exactly how we get the criminality you're angry about. Just pass something. We have to pass something. You know who hears you saying that? All the criminal scumbags in D.C. And they start licking their lips and thinking about all the criminality they're going to stuff in that bill. Why? because they hear people saying, pass something, I don't care what it is. Oh, they're going to pass something. You bet they will. They're going to pass the same corruption they've been campaigning against like they always do. As I said before, many times, Democrats are the creators of Washington, D.C. corruption, and Republicans are the protectors of it. Period. It's true. It's true, Chris. Shake your head all you want. I might make a bumper sticker, Chris. That's a great line. Maybe I will make a bumper sticker. It is the Jesse Kelly Show, final segment of the Jesse Kelly Show on a wonderful, wonderful Monday. Remember, you can email the show, jesse@jessekellyshow.com. And you know what I really do enjoy? Because Hillary Clinton just got up and did it again. I enjoy these lifelong Democrats who do the speaking tour thing to stay relevant, because what's Hillary Clinton going to do? Does she want to stay home and watch Bill have to hide from her? No, of course not. Hillary wants stuff to do. She's used to being famous and Secretary of State and Senator and First Lady. She's used to being important. And so she's not going to sit at home. She's not going to be bored. This is someone who doesn't have any real passions outside of killing people. So she's somebody who's going to make sure she stays in the public eye. But when they do this, they always, always, always end up saying things that they were supposed to keep quiet and things they have kept quiet for most of their career. But they get honest because there's nothing for them to lose now. There's no other elections for Hillary to lose. She's all done, all washed up. But she was talking about Trump and Vance on stage. Here she was.
Basically send a message, most exemplified by Vance and Musk and others, that, you know, what we really need from you women are more children. And what that really means is you should go back to doing what you were born to do, which is to produce more children. But if you had read
dang right.
The Heritage Foundation's Project 2025, despite Trump saying he knew nothing about it, if you had read it, it's all in there. It's all in there. Return to the family, the nuclear family, return to being a Christian nation, return to, producing a lot of children.
Listen, I'll let her keep going. Listen to the disdain she has for the things she just described. Doesn't matter whether you are those things or whether you believe in those things. Listen to her disdain for the nuclear family. Almost sounded like it was a big loogie she couldn't wait to get out of her mouth. The nuclear a loogie, Chris, when you do that kind of a loogie. Loogie? It's not loogie, it's loogie. No, it's not. Corey, are you agreeing with him? You think it's a loogie? I disagree. It's a loogie. Hawk a loogie. Whatever.
Which is sort of odd because the people who produce the most children in our country are immigrants, and they want to deport them. So none of this adds up. But, one of the reasons why our economy did so much better than comparable advanced economies across the world is because we actually had a replenishment, because we had a lot of immigrants, legally and undocumented, who had a, larger than normal, by American standards, family. So
they just can't help themselves. Well, they say American women are supposed to get married and have a nuclear family. Pfft, that's why we import foreign slave labor. So you don't have to go back and actually have a family. You make sure you keep your nose to the grind and avoid all that. Hey, Pedro, are you and Lupe going to have any more kids? We need you. Someone's got to pick these strawberries. Thanks, Pedro. That's how they think. They don't even really hide it all that well. It's how they think. Jesse, I listened to you discussing how the communists have taken over history classes and how important it is to be careful which history classes our kids take. There's a lefty anti-Trumper on X who recently mentioned he has a minor in history. I'd rather not give you his name since I don't want this person to get any more attention. But the guy with the history minor is one of the nastiest left-wing people. Okay, well, let me ask you something. Why? Meaning, why is that guy in history? Why'd he do it? Because he knew if he went into history, perhaps taught history, it would create an opportunity for him to be a warrior for the evolution. Does that history guy see himself as a history guy first? Of course not. That's the costume he gets to wear. He's a communist revolutionary first, and he knows his role as a history professor, history teacher. It's going to allow him to help the revolution. One of the greatest aids Democrats have had in this country is the ability, actually the greatest aid they've had in this country, is their ability to educate your children in how bad America sucks. I'll give you a real quick example before we get out of here. It's a local thing, but in our local area, not right by me, it's a couple towns over, but there's one of those Montessori schools, a private kind of a custom school that's being built. And it's being built right across the street from a public school. I think it's a junior high. I don't know. My kids aren't going to either one of them. But right across the street from a public school. The neighborhood Democrats are loudly protesting the building of the Montessori. Why? Oh, just because it's a school that's outside of their control. The Montessori hasn't done anything. It's not even a religious one or something that would bother Democrats a lot. The very thought of children escaping the anti-American indoctrination they get in public school angers Democrats. That's how much control in educating people in the hatred of this country, that's how much it means to them, and they know it.
And now,
here's a headline.
Go, you know the thing. Headlines we didn't get to.
Bankrupt Hooters gets a lifeline from Hulk Hogan's Real American Beer Company. That really might be the most American headline in the history of this country. WHO on the brink of collapse admits it may never recover after major U.S. funding withdrawal. Of all the other things Trump has done, all the good, the bad, or the ugly, one of the great things he's done that he got no credit for whatsoever is pulling all of our money out of that evil, corrupt institution. Good for Trump. Supreme Court will allow Trump administration to end the TPS program for Venezuelans. That's what kept the Venezuelans protected from deportation. I guess I'm supposed to celebrate that, but we're allowed to deport foreigners now? Ugh. Anyway, that's all.